To begin proceedings, our host, along with the board, but our host today, tonight, and last night, in fact, the president of the ALCCI, Mr. Fadi Zouki, OAM. Fadi, please come forward.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I can't find the right words but to thank you very much. The purpose of all this is really to encourage bilateral relationship in trade and commerce between Lebanon and Australia. I can't even begin to tell you the level of success I've seen in my visits around the world from people of Lebanese origin in all fields, politics, trade, and among many others. When we visited Lebanon recently, I was astonished to see 72 people from 72 countries visiting Lebanon that brought with them immense talent. And I thought, this is amazing. Take advantage of your network, take advantage, focus on these opportunities that are happening overseas for the benefit of Victoria and Australia. And also, remember, a good partnership leads to success. Think about Lebanon as well. How could Lebanon benefit from your business and your innovations? Also, I want to thank people who came from overseas. Before I forget, we have Dr. Faraz here from the LIBC, and people came from interstate, from Sydney, and we have also Mr. Manessa came all the way from Paris, and we have people came from Lebanon, and the media, and everyone alike tonight. I'll acknowledge you all. I won't bore you, as I said, further, but I'll leave the floor for you to enjoy your networking and learn a little bit more about what we have to offer in Australia. Thank you very much.
Would you please welcome the Honourable Robin Scott. Thank you, Robin. Morning, sir. Thank you very much.
I've got a prepared speech, but I want to talk a bit from the heart, because from a Victorian government perspective, it's exactly the sort of event that we need, because we face a choice always in societies about whether we view the outside world with fear or hope. And it's this sort of event which gives life to economic opportunity, gives meaning to an engagement across the world where we can hope for a better future based on prosperity. Mr. Zouki mentioned, Iraq and Syria. I'm sure every person in this room would hope for a future where people are trading, people are building businesses, people are finding ways to make others wealthier and have an opportunity in life. And this sort of example that we've got here, I see as being really important for Victoria's future. But let's hope that we can bring a bit of prosperity both to Victoria and across the world through gatherings like this. I congratulate all of those involved. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to introduce the Australian ambassador to Lebanon to speak and invite His Excellency Glenn Miles to come forward.
شكرا كثير خصوصا لكل الناس من لبنان. ممكن أشوف كل من لبنان تهوت اليوم كثير. Lebanon's imports are worth about $24 billion, and that's a solid market in anyone's terms. And so you know, and everyone here knows that the Lebanese diaspora is active in the Gulf, it's active in West Africa, it's active in Latin America, in Canada and in Europe. And so it's that combination, and that's something that we say when we talk to the minister's offices. When you think of Lebanon, think more than just Lebanon the country, but think of the diaspora. As I said earlier, the bilateral trade relationship in some ways similar to the old Beirut-Tripoli railway line. Importantly, although it's not in the condition it should be, the key elements and infrastructure remain in place. The bridges and the linkages are both solid and existing. They provide a pathway for future growth. We now need to make sure that they are being utilised to their best advantage. And when I say we, I do mean we, because it is a shared responsibility. We need to tackle this. We need to assist in repairing that bridge and establishing a way forward that benefits both countries. Shukran kathir, well, thank you.
It's now my privilege and pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to welcome the Chargé d'Affaires for the Embassy of Lebanon, His Excellency Milad Rab.
Mr. Fadi Zouki, President of Australia-Lebanon Chamber of Commerce and Industry, distinguished guests. Australia is a big country in more ways than one. It is the 4th largest economy in the Asian region and the 12th largest economy in the world. In short, Australia is a prosperous nation that is open for business. The door is wide open for investment, trade, networking with international partners. And one natural partner is Lebanon and the Lebanese communities around the world. Australia and Lebanon have a long-standing, deep-rooted cultural, people-to-people connection. And the two countries enjoy very friendly and cooperative political relations. It has been said, to accomplish great things, we must not only act, but also dream, not only plan, but also believe. Today, let us not be afraid to dream of great things or to believe in positive change. Thank you.
Speaking of international guests, our next guest is visiting us from a long way away as well. Dr. Ned Faraz is the founder and former president of the Lebanese International Business Council, and he's going to be talking about some wonderful and successful stories from Lebanon. Ned, please come forward and welcome him from the US of A.
I was asked to talk about the Lebanese diaspora, subject that it is dear to my heart. I will exaggerate a little bit, maybe not. I will tell you how I feel about it, how I feel about Lebanon. I know this is a business forum, but I will not be talking much about business, although I can do that. But as you travel around the globe, to every continent of the world, South and North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, you cannot help but to meet the very distinguished, highly educated, and hardworking people who have three missions in life. One is to improve themselves and their families. Second is to serve the community that they live in. And third is to serve Lebanon. This is our objective. We support Lebanon? Yes. We can do that by simply visiting Lebanon and investing if you can. We and our families are the permanent tourists of Lebanon. Finally, one of our missions of the LIBC is to lobby for Lebanon. In the United States, in Australia, in Brazil, in Europe, especially during the crisis, when the country needs its sons and daughters, during the hard times, we need you to work together. Together, we can do it. We can make the difference, and we can succeed. Long live Australia, and long live Lebanon, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present, well, perfect synergy here, because Austrade, the director for Victoria and Tasmania, Shelly Jackson, to come forward.
A pleasure to be here on behalf of Austrade today, speaking with you on trade and investment opportunities for Australian business. I do have a few sort of visuals behind me to run on where we see trade and investment opportunities for Australian business, and I would like to start by acknowledging the tremendous contribution of the Lebanese diaspora to the growth of the trade and business agenda in Australia, and also the growth of the exporter community in Australia. Many businesses represented by you here today have built strong and enduring business and community ties for Australia over many decades. Thank you for inviting Austrade today, and I look forward to speaking with you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our first speaker after our mid-morning break. And Danny Ashe is coming up now to say a few words. And Danny Ashe is the managing partner of Blackstone Waterhouse Lawyers and general counsel of Consolidated Contracting Company. Please give Danny a warm welcome.
I'm an Australian-born Lebanese, and although my first visit to Lebanon was in 2012 on a trade mission with the Chamber, I had an instant emotional attachment to Lebanon, with the people and the country. So today it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be speaking this morning at this fantastic event.
To discuss more on banking, finance and investment, Mr. Ross Love, the Senior Investment Advisor, who'll be talking about the Australian share markets.
What I'll quickly run through is where I'm from, ComSec Advisory. investment risk, which I might just gloss over because it's pretty boring. The Australian stock market, 2 ways to actually trade stocks as opposed to just buying my blue chip portfolio, holding on to it for the long term and hoping that everything remains rosy. Some fundamentals, why I'm particularly bullish on the outlook of global share markets, not just Australia in particular. We have got a low Australian dollar and the alternatives to investment are simply not there at the moment. So I am somewhat bullish in the medium term, particularly for our Australian share market. And again, I'm sorry I don't have time for questions, but feel free to contact me and I appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you. But I'd like to introduce now, ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Executive Officer of the Bank of Sydney and a major sponsor of our wonderful event, Ms. Julie Elliot, to come forward. Julie, thank you.
Thanks very much, John. President Fadi Zuki, Ambassador, Consuls, Chargé d'Affaires, distinguished guests all, it's our pleasure to be here today. Why is the topic of banking important here today? And why are we talking about this? And I'll talk about banking and I'll interchangeably talk about economics. But banking's important because cash flow is the lifeblood of business and trade. But foreign investment is amazing in Australia. We, like Danny, see the opportunity for agri-funds and real estate funds as a real opportunity for Australia. The weak dollar will help us in areas like tourism. And also, we're looking, as I said earlier, looking forward to the trade sanctions being raised in Iran and the opportunities that will present. So I hope that that's given you a bit of a snapshot and look forward to a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to continue our talk about money and specifically money laundering and other operational matters. I'd like to invite Angela Trowbridge, a consultant, to come forward.
Distinguished guests, thank you very much for having me here. The focus of the Business Forum is prosperity through trade and investment, and while some of what I talk about might seem about doom and gloom from a trade perspective, I can assure you that it's not. What I'd like to do today is more give you a practical learning of the changes that are happening in banks and the anti-money laundering environment, and what that means for you and I as clients of the bank and for trade across different jurisdictions.
And I now would like to introduce the President of the French Lebanese Businessmen's Association and the WLCU World Chairperson Economic Committee, Mr. Antoine Manassa.
I didn't prepare a paper to talk, but what I have to say, thank you for the organizer, thank you for receiving us, thank you Mr. Zuki, because really we are really happy to be among you. It's my 3rd time coming to Australia in 2 years. I say, like they said in Mexico, one of the president, he say, el que no tiene una libanés que los busque. The one who has no Lebanese has to search for it, because the entry of Mexican, the whole country is yearly 12% coming from Lebanese. Thank you very much for your attention.
We move on now to somebody who is a builder. He's a very, very important man. He's the Managing Director of Holbrook Property Group, and he's talking about property and the road to success. Would you please welcome Mr. Jacques Nassif.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jacques Nassif, the CEO of Holbrook Property Group. Holbrook is an Australian private-owned property development, construction and investment company. It was established over 27 years ago. Starting with 5 townhouses, climbing the ladder, step by step, has gotten us to where we are today.
Now, I understand that 38% of the container freight that goes out of the Tullamarine airport is chill lamb going over to Lebanon. So there's a very good association between Victoria lamb producers and Lebanese consumers. We hope that continues to grow. But if any of you want to have a chat to me or have a read of these newspaper reports, I'm just sitting over there quietly, feel free to come up. But once again, thank you to Fadi.
before you go, Bill, you know quite well the respect we have for you, a veteran in politics and a real true Australian. But also, the way I used to go and visit Bill, you probably know I enjoy flying, so I used to fly the jet up to see him and land on a strip up in Horsham, and just to go and have a nice steak in Horsham with him. But more importantly, what's something that Bill forgot to mention, I wanted to mention it to you, is Bill showed me where a very popular company from Lebanon used to make a fulum dammas, which is the fiber beans. And the company was called Cortas. I grew up as a kid seeing the cans and having the best fool possible. And to tell you, this fool that I found out comes from Horsham, from Australia.
My name's Tony Carews and I'm the General Manager of Cedar Meats, a meat exporting facility that's located here in Brooklyn. Before I go into any detail, it was great to hear Bill talk about Richard, my dear friend, good friend of ours, and you thought we would have planned this, but that actual shot is his farm, so we tied it in really well.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may or may know this lovely lady who at 5 o'clock this morning got off a plane. Joyce Ariki is here, ladies and gentlemen. Joyce, come on down. Over here, Joyce.
عن جد أنا كتير سعيدة إنه ما قدرت أوصل قبل بس وصلت على الوقت. رح أكون معكم اليوم عشية. فادي من 4 سنين تعرفت عليه. كان عنده it was like a dream تيعمل هيدا غرفة التجارة والصناعة المشتركة بين لبنان وأستراليا. إذا بتشوفوا شو عم بيصير بلبنان تجوا لهون بيكبر قلبكم. يعني تظاهرات، مجلس وزراء ما بيجتمع، مجلس نواب ما بيشرع، زبالة، يعني كان بعد نقصتنا فوق الزبالة زبالة. بتجوا لهون بيكبر قلبكم لما بتشوفوا حدا مثل فادي عم يشتغل هيدا الشغل، عم بيجرب يعمل شيء للبنان. ايفن لما بيروح لهونيك يعني دايما هو هون بس قلبه بلبنان. صحيح ما عنده قلبين، هو قلب واحد مقسم وبين هون وهونيك. بحب هالشي فيه، مشان هيك we are friends، لأنه قلبه دايما بفكر بلبنان وشو معقول أعمل لصلح لبنان. we need some people like فادي يكونوا موجودين. فادي هلا عم بيجربوا يغيروا سلطة، تجي لعنا نعملك president. ماروني فادي، انت بحق لك. So I'm asking him to be president.
You're not the first actually taking the petition tonight.
So بس هيك ما رح طول عليكم، بعدنا جاي دايركتلي، يعني إلي 3 ساعات هون بملبورن. بشوفكم الليلة عشية، بعرف إنه رح يكون في كتير ناس. I'm trying هيك رح جرب كون أعطي هل غرفة التجارة والصناعة المشتركة بين لبنان وأستراليا أعطيها عن جد حقها، لأنه she's doing a great job. كمان رح نجرب عبر الام تي في نعطي الصورة الحلوة عن لبنان. نحن دايما عم نبلش نشرات أخبارنا بفقرة اسمها رغم كل شيء، فلما ينعرض هالجالا دينر ومقتطفات عن يلي صار، هيدا عن جد رح يأكد إنه رغم كل شيء بعد في لبنانيين وحتى إيفن أستراليين بيهتموا للبنان. ورغم كل شيء، رغم الزبالة يلا قلت لي رولا، ما هيك يلا قلت لي عنها رولا. لا بعد في شيء حلو نفرجيه عن لبنان which is هالوجوه الحلوة يلي رح نشوفها اليوم. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I made my presentation very simple, so I won't annoy you too much. Thank you very much for today. As I promised you, I won't take long time from you. And please feel free if you have any questions, and we are ready for any details or any information after the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Distinguished friends, firstly I want to thank my dear friend Fedi Zuki for asking me to speak today at this forum. Indeed, it seemed quite odd to me as a doctor when Fedi approached me and invited me to speak at this business forum. I was a bit perplexed. However, as you will soon learn, there is enormous potential for Australian healthcare to be exported not only to Lebanon but worldwide. There is much more work that needs to be done. The foundations have just been laid. And by doing this, we can reach our potential. However, by charting a methodical approach and building important relationships based on trust and respect with Lebanon and globally, this can be realised. Thank you very much.
We continue in our health theme with Dr. Jose Mitri, who's going to come forward to talk about cancer therapy for the 21st century and other matters.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the invitation, Fadi. Thanks for everyone who attended and for the opportunity to share with you this story of hope for people who are struggling with this dreadful disease. It's very encouraging to hear last night the ministers and tonight all the speakers suggesting idea about future collaboration with the Lebanese universities and encouraging actually future collaboration.
I hope you enjoyed today's forum, and I really thank you for sitting through it. And again, take advantage of it, network with each other. Yes. And tonight's going to be an amazing night, as I said, full of entertainment and fun, not much speaking, and so just purely to enjoy yourselves with almost 1,000 people on the night. So enjoy.
The ALCCI would like to thank International Chamber House, Australian Trade Commission, Australia Unlimited, the State Government of Victoria and the Bank of Sydney, and to all those who attended and presented at the ALCCI Melbourne Business Forum 2015. Shukran. Sharaftuna.